Welcome to the 38th devlog for Lazr. This week was very busy. Many tasks were completed. We'll talk about these topics in upcoming sections. This week I completed autosaving. The player's progress in the story is now visible on the story spiral. I added a new game screen and got autocomplete working. I improved the hover particles and added hover platforms, then slightly redesigned levels 0 through 3 using these new hover platforms and vehicles. I also finally improved the smoke art. We'll explore these topics now. The story spiral now visually shows the player's progress. Completed levels are displayed in magenta, the hero's color. Let's take a look at the story spiral now. You can see where the color changes from magenta to blue, indicating that's as far as the player has progressed. I'd like to make the smaller pink dots a full color, instead of being an outline, so they stand out more. The new game screen was added, so players can select the save slot they'd like to use. This is pretty standard stuff that was just missing. Autocomplete lets the game play itself, without any player input. Here is my laptop and tablet, both playing Lazr. It's very useful if a game can demo itself, and autocomplete allows Lazr to do that. The game will go into a demo mode and play the first 6 levels on its own, if the game idles on the title screen for 20 seconds. Autocomplete is also very useful for testing and discovering bugs, or platform-specific issues. Now let's talk code for a bit. The autocomplete system of Lazr starts with an input struct. This contains 5 booleans and 1 byte in the form of a direction enum. This direction value can only be one of 9 possible states, cardinal and diagonal directions plus a default value of none. This just represents the state of a simple controller. Here I'm mapping a gamepad's input to the input struct. There's some input remapping happening in the if statements. This is an example of how I'm saving my recorded input to a file. Each frame, the input is added to the input buffer list. The save counter is incremented, and once it goes past a total, it resets to 0 and the file is saved. This means I don't have to press a button to save the input recording. This is how I'm loading an input recording right now. There's a lot here, so pause is needed. Essentially, this code loads an input file, reads all the inputs, stores them in an input buffer, and then sets the game into a playback mode. This is called at the start of a level, so each level has their own input recording. This makes it a bit easier for me to manage. There's some additional code in there that handles specific states, such as level 0, where the hero has no mods applied. This is how an input recording loaded into the input buffer is applied to this frame's current input struct. We're just writing the values. And here is the folder of input recording files. They're pretty small in size. I've broken them up according to level. Average level input recording is around 30. Altogether, all input recordings amount to around half a megabyte. And finally, here is level 2 being played by the game from an input recording file. I was very careful to make all physics deterministic and to replace randomness where possible. This input recording system also works on menus and UI. This week I also improved the hover particles, produced by hover vehicles. Each vehicle was producing too many particles, sometimes 10 or 20 apiece. I changed that behavior, and now the hover vehicles only produce 1 or 2 particles each, which leads to much less demand on the particle system in levels where there are many vehicles. I also improved the artwork for the smoke particle Now smoke starts off with a strong color and then fades to a dark blue, while blurring and growing larger. I like the way this smoke looks and behaves in game. This is finally done. There's still quite a few things missing from the alpha, including an auto grab system, additional NPCs, doors, and street art, like shops and buildings. I need to final the city background art and levels, so it looks consistent with the story spiral. I need to add level and mission times, and there's a few interactions I'd like to add to the hero as well. I still haven't decided if I have enough time to add in cyberspace hacking. I'd like to. The beta goals haven't changed. There's a lot to do here. Thanks for joining me on the development journey of Lazr. You can play the free demo of Lazr at lazr.online. Lazr is available on Steam, itch, GameJolt, and Indie Expo.